Good day, YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. By the time you're seeing this, it's after Easter weekend. Hope everybody had a nice Easter. We are trying to get back on this San Francisco sectional cutaway build here. You can see I'm doing the a little unconventional the way I'm doing it, but it looks really good when you're done, and it still serves the same purpose as the original idea. I put the clamp on there so the knot cannot come loose until I get some super glue on this. Gotta find my rag. Way over yonder. Okay, so we got two blocks that we got to get ready for this. We'll do that in the vise right here. And after this dries, use the black magic marker to touch up anything that turned white from that super glue. And we got to get two blocks that we're going to put, I think 40 millimeters apart. The spacing there is 10 millimeters. And I'm going to use two of the smaller ones. Sometimes I gotta do this before I even mess with the block, because I've had issues with these smaller ones getting the thread in there. Using the thread lacing tool is the only way to get it in there sometimes, and I just blew that one up. These smaller blocks are a little tougher to work with. So I want the hole to be near the back side of the block, away from where the knot is. I'm going to put some tan colored thread on that, and we don't need a whole lot, so I can use some of this scrap I saved that scrap thread from all the different builds. Chickens must have laid an egg. It says refilled their feeder yesterday. Gave them some sunflower seed and cracked corn and their regular egg layer. That's Tomasi's voice there. He out there barking at the neighbor or something. So that one's ready to go on. And I already pre-measured this. I know this one's a center. So that's 10, 20. I want to put my block over here. And I'm just looking up at the build to look at the other yard arms. Just try to match what they look like. Well, after we get the second one on there, we're going to do the bearings, which is here the little glass beads that we'll make the bearing out of. We got to thread them through a line, and then you can see it on the back side here. This top one has got a much bigger set of bearings. The one we're going to do for this top yard arm, which you go up here somewhere, will be similar to this one here. And that's so they can lower that yard arm. Raise it. So in the meantime, I want to take a little break here and show you guys some of the projects I've been working on. So we didn't do any video last week, and part of the problem was I pretty much spent all week tearing this treehouse down. It's a goner. Nothing left but the ladder. If I remember, I'll put a link in the video to a video I posted years ago. We built this treehouse for my grandson. He was probably 4 or 5 years old, and we had to tear it out because it was rotten in a lot of places, and it's been more than 11 years since we put it up. This is built from old oak pallets. And some of the pallets were for import of marble. That's where I got a lot of the big beams and stuff from, is those pallets for marble slabs. And then the rest were regular pallets that I disassembled and used the boards to build a tree house. So we tore that out, and my wife wants to use this ladder for something, I don't know. Now I've already got part of the scrap put in the trash can to get rid of it, and we'll do a little bit at a time, get rid of the rest of this. It's got nails and screws in it, so I don't think it's worth using for other projects, and it's got a lot of rot and weathering to it. Some of the boards my wife saved, and she stuck them in the trailer. I still got the tin left over from the roof. We'll use that for something else. But I don't know what she's going to do with all that. I was going to cut it up and throw it away. Now I got a problem with her saving stuff. What do I do? We planted some more grapes. And this is green beans. Well, I don't see any coming up yet. Just planted these like 3 days ago. The seed. And that was, the treehouse was last week, so yesterday and Monday I spent up here in the front yard trimming this palm tree. You see the big pile out there at the road. Usually once every couple of years I got to trim this thing back. So I got a little more cleanup to do in there, but for now the hard part is done, and it does look a lot better. We got that thinned out, all the dead stuff out of there. This is Tomasi's area. He's got one of his chew toys, or a bone. You can see all his toys out here on the ground. And we've been taking him to dog training school on Sunday afternoons. Some of the basics, dog training. He loves to be outside here, he loves to play and run. He's just telling me. I want to wrestle with you. He's like a football player. Oh, we need to go look and see if we got any eggs. There's always an adventure taking place, so. Good morning, Burl. Girls and birds in the same word. Burl. Y'all been making a lot of noise. Well, there's only one there. Nothing over here yet. See how my wife takes the roses and puts the petals in their nest. They like eating them. of course dogs love eggs, and if I get like 4 a day, I usually average 3, but some days I'll get 4, and if I do get a lot, I got 6 chickens and I'll get a good day of 4. Once in a great while I'll get 5, but usually it's 3. So on some days when I do get 4, I'll just give Tomasi the egg and he'll take it over yonder and devour it. It's good for their coat. Keep that there. I need to go get my phone. So let's tie this other block here. I'm putting a hole that's in the block toward the back of where the knot's going to be, away from where the knot is. That way the hole will be near the front. When you go to lace it up. I think the bearing on this one gets 8 beads. I always put just a little dab of super glue. I try to do just a little dab. Sometimes it gets out of control, but little dab on the knot. Since we got this other one already dry, cut off this tail. Okay, that's the middle, so I want to be 40 millimeters apart. And fairly tight. I don't want to have it sticking out too far. I think that knot did not tie properly. That one did there. And then I got a little bit slack. I'm going to shift it to the outside so it matches the other side. There we go. Now the bearing, I'm using black or brown thread for that. And here, I'm going to pick some of this 75% polyester and 25% cotton, because it's a lot easier to work with and doesn't have all that fuzzy hair sticking out all over the place. Laptop is up to doing something. So to start, I'll have a long tail here that I can use to tie around the mast, but I have to have a knot to stop the bead from going up and down the thread. So we're going to tie a knot, have a long enough tail that we can still have line to tie around the knot, the mast. And the knot's got to be at least a double or a triple to be fat enough. Without losing the bead on there already. I should have waited till I got this first knot started. That's plenty fat enough there. So of course I've been doing other projects, a lot of because it's springtime, I've been doing a lot of planting, fertilizing, and transplanting. We have a lot of stuff that's in pots, and we'll transplant it to a bigger pot, or we'll put it in the ground, or we'll do something to help it stay healthy. We got I think we went to Lowe's and picked up like two more blueberry bushes and a blackberry bush and elderberry bush and a raspberry bush. Planted all those in the ground over there just outside the greenhouse near the fence. Okay, how many we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now I got to do another knot to keep them all in that little run. I want to have a little bit of slack in the run. Yeah, that's just about right. I can add more knot to that. And I'm going to cut part of this tail off because it's too long. So we had a great Easter service at our church this past Sunday. You know, that's the time of year when even the non-church goers go to church. So we had quite a crowd in our congregation. There was probably 500 people there. But in this day and age, there's a little bit of a revival going on in America, eh? People are sort of fed up with the endless amount of evil everywhere. So I'm going to tie this to one side. And then the other side will get tied on after I wrap it onto the mast. It's probably hard to see on the camera. And the mast itself is not too big up there, up this high. I'm just, as the knot gets tight, I'm making sure it doesn't wrap around the beads. There. So that's the center of the yard arm. And I want this knot to end up on the side of the yard arm. This is the bottom where these are hanging. So and I think the ends now that's Miss Callie, the neighbor's little chihuahua. So I got two tails, one on each end here for after I let go of it with the alligator clips. I wanted to tie a little knot on the end here. Yeah. And I got to do the same on the other end. You can see how the super glue turns that thread. This thread came in the kit, or came in a kit from Artesia Latina, so it's all cotton thread, and the super glue reacts with that a little bit and it turns it white, or the glue dries in there and you can see the glue, I guess is the way to put it. So we're going to take the magic marker and make that white disappear. All right, so now this is ready to go on. Yep, that'll go around the mast like that and tie off over here. So before we tie that on, let's check and see where it goes. See if I can zoom in here. Can you see that? Yeah. Go up a little bit. Yeah, I guess it looks good. So this is the one we just tied. And that's the yard arm that we just made up with the two blocks. And that's where it's telling us how far apart the blocks are from the center, what parts to use. And then this is the lower yard arms. Yeah, that's the lower yard arm. And how to tie it off, which we did a pretty good job of that. We had to add this post. It was not in the build until you get to this picture and you see it. Oh. So we had to make up a post and add it and put a pin in the bottom of it and drilled a hole in the deck and glued it down. So that's the middle yard arm and how to hang it, which we've got done. Tied off to a baling pin. So here we go. The top yard arm. All right, over here it tells us 55 millimeters from the top of the mast. We're supposed to tie a block. And then 25 millimeters below that is where the bearing is going to start at or stop at. Okay. And then off of that bearing, we're going to have a rope tied permanently to the yard arm, going up through the block and then down to another baling pin next to the first one. So that's pretty simple. So we got to remember 55 millimeters and then position the yard arm at 25 millimeters below. What are you doing in there? So since this is much higher, I'm going to raise the camera up here if we can get high enough. So I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. Yeah. see. Okay. So definitely got a mark up here. Yep, this top row is millimeters. And we're going to be 55. And then 25. So we can tie this on at the 25 millimeter mark. We'll use this clamp as something to rest the yard arm on while we do this knot. So another tidbit of news. I had an echocardiogram last week. They looked at my heart, and it don't look good. Yeah, I might go back to see the cardiologist tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. To see what her evaluation says. For those that don't know, I've got a pacemaker combination defibrillator. And had AFib and thick blood and all these other problems. So when I was 8 years old, I had open heart surgery. I think they call it a PDA or VSD. It closed up a hole in my heart that's supposed to close up naturally when you get older, and it didn't. And that was in 1966. So now we got to tie a block up here. Get it ready. And this is going to be a bigger block. And we'll cut these tails off later. So I've got a history of heart problems got a history of camera problems. I'm always messing with it. Some creators will just edit out all that. I don't do any editing. I might add a little comment or something here or there on the screen, but you guys know what it's all about. And you're a creator on YouTube, you can go really overboard doing all that kind of stuff. And here, building this model and, you know, walking around the yard and stuff like that, once you start editing, you end up taking stuff out that you shouldn't have, or get too many choices of, just makes it more complicated, and it takes forever. So I just get the data from the camera into the computer, and I use Windows Photo program, Windows Photo Legacy, and drag and drop those video elements into that, create a title for the video, and tell it to finish. And of course, I've got that little wooden model ship being chipped away, and the words being chipped away at the beginning and the end of the videos. That I created that using Blender years ago, and I have to drag that and put it in there, but that keeps my videos easy to put out, because I don't waste a lot of time editing stuff. Okay, we'll get ready to put that on, and we'll go back up. Because we're going to be tying this higher than my cardboard. I put that piece of white cardboard back behind the work area here, because there's a big ship inside that display case that is so busy. You just can't take your eyes off of it. It's just too much. Makes it hard to see. What I'm filming. And of course, I got tons of LED lights in this shop. So you got to have good lighting. Something about this knot isn't working right. Okay, then we'll drag that up. I want to choke this mast a little bit. So that isn't going to come loose later on and slide down. So we'll do the choker effect, and then this knot is going to pull tight on the other side there. We'll do one more. There we go. So now we got to let that dry for a few minutes. And then go ahead and cut these tails off. So we'll have to have a tie rope. The tail's hanging everywhere. Have to have a tie rope on the yard arm to go up through that, down through the crow's nest, and we'll use some more. See, this is the cotton rope here. Yeah, there ain't much of this left. But I want to match what I've got going already, because once you get down to the deck and the baling pins and all, so I'm going to pre-measure a little bit extra. Cut a piece that we can see if we can get it up through there. There we go. And it really needs to have a few more wraps. See if I can get this to go down. Catch it. So part of my what do you call it? I guess you could say plan. Part of my plan while doing these videos is to make it relaxing for you guys and let you know what I've been doing and learn something about building these ships kits. Just be an encouragement to other model builders. It's something relaxing to watch. You know, me and my wife watch a lot of different YouTube creators, and a good portion of them are just farmers, dairymen. What do you call it? Somebody that has cows that makes milk. Dairy farmer. And people that live off grid. And you know, I like, my wife doesn't, but I like to watch a lot of Call of Duty. Just people playing it. I used to play it a lot, but I can't anymore. I'm too slow. And of course, there's a lot of biblical video content. Stuff about Israel and stuff about our country, a lot of history documentaries. The news nowadays is rather depressing, eh? So we definitely aren't going to go political here. All right, I'm going to go lower. And we just put in a baling pin here in the baling pin rack. Baling pin, whatever you want to call it. So these can be a little tricky. Let me get my other tweezers. I want this to come through from the back side. And I screwed that up already. So what I usually do is try to get this thread to hook around the baling pin on the underside of the rack. And then pull it up to the top of the rack here. And get at least one wrap around it. And then I'm going to be checking my tension on that line. I just pulled it off the bottom of the pin. Messing with the tension. Yep. There we go. Okay, we failed, and we failed, and we failed. And we failed again. Good thing I've only got like 10 baling pins on this thing. Tweezers are upside down. Now it's wrapped around the wrong side. Okay. In the past, I have used a pair of reverse tweezers. I'm looking around my bench here. I bet you them reverse tweezers are over yonder in my tool pile. So the idea here is to just make a loop, turn it upside down, and pull it tight. There we go. It looks good up top. And we got some, what do you call those, slip knots? Slip knot on there. Okay, we'll let that dry. We can take this clamp off. We finally got that top yard arm done. So, my mouse is not working. There it goes. Let's review here. Yep. Detail D. That's why it's not working. Some garbage is running in the background. So detail D is tying off. So next is the running rigging, which usually goes a little quicker because all you're doing is blocks and ropes. And more baling pins. So yeah, we gotta do the running rigging next for the bottom yard arm. And these are for tilting the sail. And they'll tie off on the side baling pins. And there's some for stabilization. Or no, that's the next yard arm up. Doing the same thing as stabilization and tilting. So we got to do that on all three of them, I'm sure. Tie them off. So we got a bunch of running rigging to do now. That's our next week's video. Start filling up all these other blocks here. And then we got a baling pin rack on the side. And then the one in the middle. Start filling up more of those. Thanks for watching.